Boo, 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 boo. Here I am with Elliot, and we are working on an Arbitrum starter kit or deploying your first contract to Arbitrum. How you doing, Elliot?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing great. Let's go. Let's jump in and get started. Let me share my screen and we can get started here. I'm just going to throw the whole entire screen up there and we're going to go. Okay. So there are multiple starter kits for Arbitrum, and we will show an Arbitrum starter kit that Elliot has created in a little bit. But Scaffold ETH itself is already ready to go with Arbitrum. So I wanted to kind of just show a simple smart contract. Let's put our very first contract on Arbitrum. And the way I'll do that is just with stock Scaffold ETH. Well, maybe we'll make a little counter contract. Maybe we'll deploy it locally, then we'll put it on Arbitrum, and then we'll use your starter kit, Elliot. But I think the best way to get started, just to show tinkering, is just with stock Scaffold ETH.
Sounds awesome.
Okay. So yeah, we're just gonna make a counter, right? A really simple thing, but it's MPX create ETH latest. You'll have the option here. Since we're using hard hat, the other one, I'll probably just use hard hat here. This will take a minute to install. And the thing that you've built is an extension of Scaffold ETH. Is that right? If I go to extensions, I think we should be able to see some more. But do you want to talk about that just a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. Extensions or the Arbitrum starter kit extensions.
Probably just extensions, just the idea of extensions first.
Yeah. So extensions are super cool because you can get all the latest and greatest that Scaffold ETH has to offer. And you can build this extension that only has the necessary changes to add whatever you built. And then anyone who wants to use that same functionality that you built in an extension can load the latest and greatest of Scaffold ETH with your extension stuff in it. So you never get this drift problem where you built this branch and it gets super outdated and people try to use it, but it's super old and it needs dependency updates and all this. So you never have that issue with extensions.
Your starter kit stays state of the art is my elevator pitch for it. You just have your logic and then everything else is bringing in whatever the latest Scaffold ETH is. Okay, so when we start it up, we'll need to CD into our counter, and then it's got a bunch of commands for us to run here. I'll just open up a couple new windows to do this. So I'll do a yarn chain, which is going to bring up our local blockchain. And then I'll do a yarn start, which will start our local front end. And then I'll do the yarn deploy right here, which should deploy our stock greeter smart contract to the local chain. And it looks like there's even an initial greeting set in our greeter contract. We'll go look at that in a second. Let's open it up with Cursor or whatever your favorite code editor is. And you'll notice that there's Hardhat and Next.js, kind of two packages here. In Hardhat, you'll find your contract, and that's where that greeter is. And simple enough, there's a little greeter contract. We're just going to build a counter, though. I'm going to kind of just knock some of this stuff out of here real quick. We don't want any console logs, for instance. We want to put a production app on Arbitrum, so I'm going to comment out some things that'll take a lot of space, but let's not even worry about it. Let's put all this stuff on chain. Heck, it's fine. It's cheap, right? So what I want to do is just make a counter to show that you can do a counter. So if we do a uint 256 public county, well, we're going to set it to, it starts at 0, right? And then maybe some like function that will be like inc county. Okay, there we go. County +1 plus equals 1. Okay, so we've got our counter. With Scaffold ETH, you may be dinking around with your code and you may want to compile first. You can yarn compile. And then whether you're using Hardhat or Foundry underneath the sheets, it's just going to call whatever command we need. But it looks like we're ready to go. Let's go ahead and deploy our new contract. Make sure that goes. Okay, to the front end. If you go to localhost 3000, you will find your Scaffold ETH app up and running. Localhost 3000. Let's let it load up. And then we can start dinking around with our smart contract. Okay. And if we go to debug contracts, looks like I'm already connected with my user, but what we want to see is there's county and there's inc county. and there's something going on here. It's telling me I need to switch to hard hat. And I could do that, which is good, but I'm not even going to use my MetaMask. When you're on localhost, sometimes it's better to totally disconnect, because Scaffold ETH gives you some nice burner wallets out of the box, right? And then we can click this nice little thing here, and then all of a sudden we have all the money we need to dink around. And let's go. Let's hit this button, and we're going to ink our counter. Look how fast that works. Very nice. You just click it, and it increments your counter. Okay, we're able to do it, right? Let's put this thing on Arbitrum, right? Looks good enough. Anything else we should worry about before we fire this thing off on Arbitrum? I don't know. We're paying some extra here to put all this stuff on a main chain, but it's an L2 and it should be cheap. Okay, so let's say that you've kind of dinked around with your contract enough. Maybe even you got in here, and let's do it real quick. Let's put the counter in the front end too, just to really close the loop. In your app, you've got a page, right? And if you go to the Scaffold ETH docs, it tells you how to interact with your smart contracts. In particular, let's go read what the counter is. And we could put a button in here to increment the counter too, but just showing like one hook here. What do we call it? It's county, right?
Yep.
Watch this. This guy will know about county. Oops. Nope. I got to bring this in first. Let's import that from Scaffold ETH. It's going to know about our contract. Look, it even tried to auto, but this is what I wanted to show. When you're in here editing your front end, it's going to know about your smart contracts. It's going to know about the values in your smart contract. And when I go to tab complete here, it's just like, hey, I hit control space, but it's like, what variable do you want out of your contract? So it knows about our smart contract. And there now we have this like county variable here, and I can put that, I don't know, let's put it right here. It doesn't make any sense. But now when we look at our front end, it's going to say Scaffold ETH2, and there's our count at 8 for some reason. And if we go increment that a couple more, we should see it incremented there on the front page. I don't know what we're really doing here. We're just making a counter. Let's get this thing out on Arbitrum, right? Let's deploy it. It's doing what it needs to do. So when we go to deploy, we'll say -- network, and we'll say Arbitrum. And it's going to tell us probably we need a deployer account, and we're going to need some money. So let's go ahead and generate that deployer account. Maybe it's going to ask for a password. Yep. I'm just going to put in a really terrible password that I use for a few things. Okay, so we need to put some real Arbitrum on this account, right? So if I go to my wallet and we put in this account and we go USD, let's send 25 cents, right? Should be pretty cheap to deploy this contract to an L2. We're going to send in 25 cents. And it should send almost instantly. Speed up. I don't know why we would need to speed it up. There it goes. It's done. Okay, now let's try this again. Yarn deploy -- network Arbitrum. Let's see if we go see if we can put our first contract on Arbitrum. Here we go. Please work first try. Deploying. There it is. Okay. There we go. Okay. So some things have changed here. We're on hard hat, right? We need to go edit our config to put our app on Arbitrum. And you do that right at this scaffold config. Right now, we just have hard hat as the network. If we replace that with Arbitrum, our whole app is now going to change over to Arbitrum. It's going to kick us out of that burner wallet. So we have to connect our MetaMask now because we're on a real network. There we go. There we go. We're on Arbitrum. And let's say we're accidentally on mainnet, right? What happens if someone comes in with their wallet on mainnet? Very nice. Scaffold ETH kind of bumps them over to Arbitrum. Okay. I don't know. Let's go increment a counter on chain, right? Let's go. What's the count right now? Is it 0? If I hit inc county, now it's going to pop up a whole dialogue, and we're going to have to pay a whole 1/10 of a penny. But here we go. We should increment. Watch this counter. Boom! Wow, that is fast. Even on mainnet, that's fast. Let's do it a couple more times. You know, it's just a fraction of a cent. Look at that, just firing off transactions. I'm not even reading them. And there our counter is incrementing. Okay, So we were able to put our first contract out on Arbitrum. You can see it here. There's the contract live in Arbiscan. Scaffold ETH is great at that. You can quickly put an app with a front end backed by a smart contract out on any EVM network, L2s, mainnet Ethereum, whatever you want, hard hat locally, Foundry locally, and you can dink around with it on local and then send it up when you're ready. I think this is the first thing I want to show. And I think we've basically showed everything here. That you should spend a lot more time working on your contract. You should spend a lot more time working on your front end. But I think this basically shows how to put your first contract out there and how to have something on Arbitrum that actually makes real transactions. Okay, I think now it's time to lean into your extension. Do you think there's anything else we should show here, or are you ready to lean into the Arbitrum extension?
Yeah, sounds good. Let's go to the extension.
Okay, cool. So now I'm just going to kind of close all of this stuff up. We'll kind of close this stuff out. We'll close down our app. Okay, and I'll CD back to my main repo. We'll close out our editor. Okay, starting back from scratch, let me go grab that command from you. I'll put it into the chat, but it's not on the extensions page yet, right? Like no one can find this yet except for from this video?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It'll be on the extensions page soon, though.
Okay, here is the command you sent me. Here it is. We're going to npx create ETH, just like we just did, but now we're using a beta version and we're using an extension, really edge of the state of the art, edge of the ecosystem. Here we go. We're going to do this and we'll name it Arb app, right? Something like that. This will be our first Arbitrum app. And in this case, we're not going to do any debugging on hard hat or on localhost. In this case, these features that you're going to show off here are mainnet only. Is that right?
Right.
Or at least
well, testnet and mainnet. So Arbitrum Sepolia and Arbitrum, because it features some precompiles that Arbitrum provides to developers who are building contracts, and yeah, so it showcases those things and allows you to use them. But as a result, you can't use it on local hard hat.
Great. So we won't even fire up a chain. We don't need to do that. We can start our app, right? So I could open up another, oops, I'm going to need a CD into it. CD to, what did we call it? Arb-app. There we go.
Yep.
Then I'll yarn start, and that will bring up our front end. Okay, but now there's no chain, right? Our front end is like, hey, I've got localhost, but we can't really do anything on localhost because of these precompiles. If you're thinking of spending a bunch of time on localhost, probably just start with Scaffold ETH. This starter kit is going to show the bridge and the address table and the forced transactions. So let's see. Now, okay, so I need to probably be on Sepolia first to bridge some funding in. Is that right?
Sure. Yep.
Okay, so let's switch over to Sepolia. And then we'll go to the bridge feature. And please stop me, Elliot, if I do anything wild, or I'm just kind of like figuring it out as I'm going here.
Yeah.
So this is the bridge tab, and I should be able to just send in one ETH, I think.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
And we'll deposit it on Sepolia. And then there's my pop-up. Okay. And then what'll happen is we have to wait 15 minutes, but then I'll get some Arbitrum Sepolia. And let's just go ahead and switch over to Arbitrum Sepolia as if this has already happened, because I think I sent one. Oh, I sent a little bit. We're good. We've got enough money. I sent it about 15 minutes ago, so we'd be ready. But yeah, you have to wait 15 minutes. Sorry, developer at home. Here we go, though. Now we're on Arbitrum Sepolia. And what should we do? Should we dink around with the contract? Let's see.
You can start by withdrawing that if you want. I mean, I guess you already have some, but you could just go ahead and withdraw from the bridge.
If I wanted to pull some money out of Arbitrum back to of Arbitrum Sepolia back to Sepolia, I could initiate a withdrawal.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
That's exactly. Yep. We're just showcasing that. Yep. You can send it the other way.
Cool.
Now that takes a week to complete.
Okay.
So yeah. Because it has to go through this fraud-proof segment where, you know, it has to wait to see if anyone's going to contest that this is not legitimate, and all of that. But yeah.
Okay, cool. Now I am kind of a wild man, and I don't even like Sepolia, but I would normally just deploy this straight up to Arbitrum. But are there things that we can do here on now that we have Arbitrum Sepolia? Like, does the address table and these things work?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to need to deploy the contract
Okay.
first. But yeah,
Okay.
it should
And
work.
that would be Arbitrum Sepolia, right?
That's right.
It's
Yep.
probably, oh, whoops. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. I need to get into the folder first. CD arb app, and then yarn deploy network Arbitrum Sepolia, and it's probably going to tell us we don't have any, and we'll need to send some in to the deployer. Oh, we don't even have our deployer account yet. So let's generate that. Okay, same dumb, terrible password. 12345. Okay, so now we need to fund this account. Last time we funded the account with Hardhat, but now we need to fund it with Arbitrum Sepolia, right? So let's hit send. Send to the address. I'm guessing like 0.001. 0.01 should be way more than we need, but let's ship it. Yeah, I don't. There we go. It worked. It worked, right? That
okay, great.
Now it should be there. Okay, here we go. There we go. Okay, so our app is now live on Arbitrum Sepolia.
Arbitrum Sepolia. Nice.
Okay. Okay, so tell us about this address table. It saves us some gas.
Right, exactly. So instead, so this is something Arbitrum provides on their chain. It's a precompile, which means it's like this address. We'll call it like a contract. Think about it like a smart contract that already exists on the chain. It's a little more in depth than that, but you can kind of think about it that way. And what it enables is instead of using the actual address, you can use an index, which is going to be much shorter, much smaller amount of call data. And so if you have a large contract or a large process of some sort that's sending this call data around internally, that could potentially be some substantial gas savings if you use this address table precompile. So first you need to make sure your address is registered. And I think yours already is, Austin.
What happens if I try to register? Oh, I need to paste in an address there probably, yeah. Let's copy our address and paste it in and hit register. Something's not right there. Let's go to mainnet Arbitrum, right?
All right.
Let's quit dinking around with this testnet stuff and just put this thing back on.
Right.
Okay, and then we'll yarn deploy -- network Arbitrum, and hopefully we just put this thing on mainnet and we can quit dealing with these weird testnet wallet issues. There we go. And maybe it costs us a fraction of a cent, right? We just paid a fraction of a penny or maybe a penny, and now we have our contract, and you can go look at it with the debug tab. It's on Arbiscan, like way easier to deal with. Okay, then let's go to our address table and let's look me up. I think I already have an index. Yep, I already have an index. So then if we want to send a message to me, hello, Austin, and send in a little bit of money with my index, instead of having to address me by my address, you can address me by my index. And this is going to save you a fraction of a cent, really, because we're not paying that much. But
yeah, in this small transaction, it's probably barely saving you anything. But if you were using a lot more data and using a lot more addresses, and you could replace those for the indexes, then potentially save more.
There we go. There we go. We were able to send hello, Austin, and some value in. And if we go look at the contract now, there's actually money locked up in the contract, right? We've got that 25 cents locked up. And I think the way the contract works is anyone can come along. Let's go look at the contract real quick.
Yeah.
What does that withdraw function look like? Anybody can come along, and if they have a balance, right, you go ahead and zero out their balance and you send them the money. So technically, I should be able to see that I have some balance here. Oh, yes, someone has left me 25 cents. And so we see there's 20. Yeah, so generous. And we got that's enough to deploy like 100 contracts on Arbitrum.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I should just be able to click this withdraw button, and the 25 cents should come out of the contract and into my wallet. You receive, you're going to receive 25 cents. Hooray. And we confirm that, and it happens instantly. I love that. It's so fast. and the money is out of the contract, and we can see that in the debug also. And it's loaded up in my account. So we were able to, this is just kind of like a greeter contract where we can kind of just pick an address, and instead of, talking to them at the address, we talk to them at the index. So we save a little money, and we were able to lock up a little money on behalf of someone's index and send them a little message for fun, and they were able to withdraw it. Very cool. And the bridge we dinked around with already. You can bridge, Sepolia into Arbitrum Sepolia, or even on L1. Does this do mainnet? If I were to drop some mainnet ETH in here, do I get Arbitrum out of it, or do I find a different bridge?
Yep. It would work. It would work with that. Yep.
Cool.
You might need to add that network back to your config if you wanted to do that at this point. But yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Shall we do the forced transaction?
Yeah.
I think that's
let's do forced transaction next. Yeah. Can you talk through this? What the heck is forced transaction?
Yeah, so this is one of those things that makes an L2 an L2 versus just a side chain or something that can kind of, fiddle with your security. So the idea of a forced transaction. Okay, first let's start with the sequencer. An L2 has a sequencer, and it's using the sequencer to sequence the transactions it's receiving and then put those on the chain. So when the sequence, let's pretend that the sequencer went rogue and it decided it didn't want your transaction going on there. Maybe you're trying to withdraw your ETH back to mainnet, and the sequencer has gone rogue, and it has decided that it's going to not include your transaction that's going to retrieve your ETH. So a way around that, because this is an L2, is you can paste that transaction on the L1, and then you can execute it 24 hours later. You can execute that transaction on the L2, whether or not the sequencer wants it there. So it's like this security measure where you're able to withdraw your funds, you're able to execute whatever you want on that chain, whether or not the sequencer wants you to.
Really cool. That's a really cool property of like censorship resistance. Even if Arbitrum doesn't want you to put your transaction on Arbitrum, this mechanism allows you to, which is really cool. And you'll have to pay mainnet gas, and you'll have to wait for some of these periods of challenges, but really, like, it may be worth it. Maybe you have $1 million locked up on Arbitrum, and Arbitrum is like censoring your withdrawals. Like, that's never going to happen, but it's a good property to have, and it's more like trust but verify, right?
Exactly.
In this case, you want to always have this layer of censorship resistance. If everything goes wrong, you can still go pay mainnet gas, and you can get your stuff out of the L2, which is a really nice property.
Just the fact that you have that assurance makes you want to use this L2 and trust this L2 with your funds, because you know you can retrieve them regardless of what happens.
Cool. So it looks like you set up a script here that's going to sign some transaction or do something. Is that right? Like, I'll run yarn sign TX down here. Okay.
Yeah.
Should I do, is it going to break? I don't know.
No, it should work.
Okay.
Yeah, that's totally fine. So the reason why we have this script that does this is because we actually have to sign the transaction, and MetaMask doesn't allow you to just sign a transaction. MetaMask forces you to also send that transaction after it gets signed. So that's showing you the different contracts and methods that are there. I know what that is. So go to your hard hat config, and we need to make sure it's talking to Arbitrum and not Arbitrum Sepolia.
Oh, okay. Since I did -- network, you don't want that. You want hard hat config right here, and it's got its networks here.
Yes. And you want to set it to be Arbitrum instead of Arbitrum Sepolia. Yep.
There we go. Right. And then when we sign that transaction, it will be from mainnet. Let's try it again. Mainnet. Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay, anything else in this starter kit? So just to recap, if you want to go to Arbitrum, you want to dink around on localhost and then deploy just a simple contract to Arbitrum, you should probably just start with Scaffold ETH. Just go to scaffoldeth.io, bring in NPX, create ETH, and go. But then if you want to go farther, we've got all these extensions, and Elliot has been building this extension for Arbitrum that allows you to do some of this extra stuff, and we'll link to it here in the show notes. but let's see. Do I have it somewhere? But basically, this is it. You can bridge. You can use this address table precompile, and you can use this forced transaction signing. Is that right? Would you say that that's the extra functionality you get out?
That's right.
And what is Arbitrum good for? Let's talk about the superpowers of Arbitrum. I know there's a lot of DeFi liquidity. I think there's more games, maybe they're trying to do games and DeFi together. I think that's probably like the secret sauce, right? Use one of these precompiles, use some liquidity that's already out there on Arbitrum, and build some game on top of all of that generates revenue for you. That's the kind of thing you should be thinking about as a builder. Okay, anything else, Elliot? Did we do it? We deployed.
I don't think so. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. And this is how you do it. Use Scaffold ETH to just do, a simple stock contract. And then if you need to use any of these extras, pull this extension off the shelf from Elliot and try it out. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Elliot. See you.
All right.